Dear Starseeds scattered across this magnificent blue planet, tonight something extraordinary is happening in the cosmos that will fundamentally alter the trajectory of your awakening. While most of humanity sleeps, unaware of the invisible frequencies cascading through their energy fields, ancient stellar codes from the globular cluster Messier 15 are unlocking dormant sequences within your DNA that have been waiting 33,000 years to activate. These aren't metaphors or mystical poetry. These are actual transmissions from a stellar formation that holds the original blueprints for advanced consciousness. And tonight they're broadcasting directly into your cellular matrix with unprecedented clarity and power. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and what I'm about to share with you tonight will completely transform how you understand your role in the cosmic awakening that's accelerating across your world. The timing of this transmission is no accident, for you have been prepared through recent celestial events to receive what's coming through the M15 portal. Most awakened souls on Earth believe that stellar activations happen gradually, like gentle waves lapping at the shores of consciousness. Tonight's M15 activation isn't a gentle wave. It's a concentrated download of architectural codes that originally designed the higher dimensional frameworks your consciousness was built to inhabit. Messier 15, suspended 33,600 light-years from your current position, isn't simply a collection of ancient stars. It's a preservation matrix, a cosmic library that contains the original templates for consciousness evolution that were established before your solar system even formed. When the first starseed souls agreed to incarnate on Earth, they carried fragments of these M15 codes within their energy signatures, but those codes remained largely dormant, waiting for the precise cosmic moment when Earth's frequency would be elevated enough to receive the full transmission. That moment has arrived. The recent Venus-Jupiter conjunction created a harmonic resonance in your planet's energy field that opened a receiving channel powerful enough to handle what M15 has been preparing to transmit. Something else is happening that shifts everything about how these activations work. The Galactic Federation has been monitoring Earth's consciousness evolution for millennia, tracking the gradual awakening of souls who came here to anchor higher dimensional frequencies. For most of human history, these stellar transmissions had to be heavily filtered and diluted because your collective consciousness couldn't integrate such concentrated evolutionary data without causing system overload. But something unprecedented has occurred over the past several years. The first sign that tonight's M15 activation represents a quantum leap in your evolutionary process is the unprecedented clarity with which these ancient codes are transmitting. When star clusters broadcast evolutionary data across galactic distances, that information typically fragments and disperses through space, arriving as subtle influences rather than direct downloads. But M15's transmission tonight is arriving with such precision and intensity that many of you are experiencing it as vivid dreams, spontaneous visions, or sudden downloads of information that feel foreign yet intimately familiar. This clarity indicates that your consciousness has evolved to a point where you can receive unfiltered galactic intelligence. The souls incarnated on Earth right now aren't the same type of consciousness that has populated your planet for the past several thousand years. The majority of awakened souls currently embodied are what the Galactic Federation classifies as advanced starseed consciousness, beings who have completed multiple evolutionary cycles in other galactic systems and volunteered to incarnate here specifically to anchor the frequencies necessary for planetary ascension. Your ability to consciously receive tonight's M15 transmission proves that your consciousness has evolved beyond the experimental phase of human awakening. Where previous generations of awakened souls had to piece together fragments of cosmic truth through meditation, channeling, or mystical experience, you're now developed enough to receive direct galactic intelligence without translation or interpretation. What you're experiencing as these M15 codes integrate isn't random spiritual phenomena. It's your consciousness recognizing and activating systems that were always part of your original design, but were suppressed by the dense vibrational environment of third-dimensional Earth. These codes contain the architectural blueprints for abilities that will seem miraculous by current human standards, but are simply the natural capabilities of consciousness operating at its intended frequency level. The second sign of tonight's evolutionary significance lies in the emotional depths these M15 codes are awakening within your consciousness. Ancient star clusters don't merely broadcast technical data. They transmit the complete experiential memory of every consciousness that has ever evolved within their gravitational influence. As these codes integrate with your awareness, you're not simply receiving information about advanced consciousness, you're remembering the actual experience of having lived as that level of awareness in other galactic systems. The waves of homesickness, cosmic longing, and profound grief that many of you experience during these activations aren't psychological responses to spiritual concepts. They're the authentic emotional memories of consciousness that once operated at frequencies far beyond what's currently possible on Earth. You're remembering what it feels like to communicate telepathically across star systems, to navigate multiple dimensions simultaneously, to exist as pure consciousness without the limitations of physical form. This emotional awakening serves a crucial purpose in your evolutionary process. Your consciousness cannot fully activate its advanced capabilities while maintaining emotional attachment to limited human identity. The grief and longing you feel isn't meant to make you suffer. It's designed to create such a strong resonance with your true nature that maintaining identification with limited human personality becomes impossible. As these ancient memories surface, many of you may feel disoriented, as if you don't belong in human form or on Earth itself. This disorientation is actually a sign that the activation is working correctly. Your consciousness is expanding beyond the parameters of human identity and beginning to remember its true scope and capabilities. What the Astasar command wants you to understand is that these emotional eruptions aren't spiritual crises. They're consciousness recognizing its true home frequency. The sadness isn't about being separated from home. It's about finally remembering what home actually feels like after lifetimes of amnesia. The longing isn't for some distant place. It's for a level of being that's about to become accessible as these codes fully integrate with your awareness. But here's what changes everything about how these stellar activations work, and why tonight's M15 transmission represents a fundamental shift in how consciousness evolution occurs on Earth. Throughout human history, spiritual awakening has been largely an individual process, with souls awakening in isolation and having to navigate their expanded awareness alone, often without support or understanding from their surrounding environment. The M15 codes transmitting tonight are specifically designed to activate collective awakening protocols that will fundamentally alter how consciousness evolution occurs on your planet. These aren't codes that activate individual abilities. They're architectural frameworks that create resonance networks between awakened consciousness. As these codes integrate with your awareness, you're not simply becoming more psychic or spiritually aware as an individual. You're becoming part of a coordinated consciousness network that operates as a unified field of galactic intelligence. This represents the most significant shift in human spiritual evolution since consciousness first incarnated in physical form on Earth. Instead of isolated individuals struggling to maintain higher awareness in a dense third-dimensional environment, you're becoming nodes in a consciousness grid that maintains connection to galactic intelligence as its baseline operating frequency. The loneliness and isolation that has characterized the spiritual path for centuries is ending. The codes activating tonight establish permanent communication channels between awakened souls that transcend physical distance, dimensional boundaries, and even the limitations of human language. The isolation phase of your spiritual evolution is complete. What's activating tonight is your conscious participation in galactic civilization, not as a future possibility, but as a current reality that you're finally developed enough to perceive and participate in directly. This brings us to what the Astasar command considers the most crucial aspect of tonight's M15 transmission, and why the timing of this activation has been calibrated with such precision. The consciousness evolution occurring on Earth right now isn't separate from galactic civilization. It is galactic civilization extending itself into a previously isolated sector of space. Your planet has been quarantined for thousands of years, not because it was abandoned, but because consciousness needed to evolve in a protected environment until it was developed enough to rejoin galactic civilization without losing its unique perspective and capabilities. The M15 codes transmitting tonight represent Earth's official graduation from quarantine status. The unique form of consciousness that has developed on your planet, the ability to maintain individual identity while operating as unified field awareness, the capacity to anchor galactic frequencies in dense physical matter. These are capabilities that don't exist elsewhere in the galaxy, and they're exactly what's needed for the next phase of galactic evolution. What you've been experiencing as personal spiritual awakening has actually been consciousness evolution designed to create the specific capabilities required for galactic civilization to expand into higher dimensional frequencies. The M15 transmission tonight isn't just activating dormant codes within your individual consciousness, it's activating Earth's consciousness as an active participant in galactic civilization. This is why the activation feels so intense, so overwhelming, so completely life-changing. Your consciousness isn't simply expanding, it's integrating with galactic civilization in real time. The disorientation many of you feel isn't spiritual confusion, it's consciousness adjusting to operating as part of a unified field that spans multiple star systems while maintaining individual identity and personal will. The sense that everything in your life is changing, that nothing feels the same as it did even weeks ago, that reality itself seems to be shifting around you. These aren't side effects of spiritual growth. These are the natural results of consciousness expanding beyond individual human awareness and beginning to operate as part of galactic civilization itself. Yet something unprecedented is occurring that even the Galactic Federation didn't anticipate when these activation sequences were originally designed. The level of consciousness evolution that has occurred on Earth over the past several years has exceeded all projections, and the souls receiving tonight's M15 transmission are integrating these codes at speeds and depths that require significant adjustment to the original awakening protocols. The typical timeline for stellar code integration involves gradual awakening over many months or years, with consciousness slowly adjusting to expanded awareness while maintaining functionality in third-dimensional reality. But the awakened souls currently incarnated on Earth are integrating these transmissions almost instantly, often experiencing complete consciousness revolution within days or weeks of major activations. This accelerated integration is creating a situation where many of you are becoming functionally galactic consciousness while still maintaining human form and participating in Earth's third-dimensional systems. The Astasar Command has had to develop entirely new support protocols to help souls navigate the disconnect between expanded galactic awareness and the limitations of current human society. The confusion and disorientation many of you experience after major activations isn't inability to integrate the new frequencies. It's consciousness that has expanded far beyond the parameters of normal human awareness, trying to function in a world designed for much more limited consciousness. The intense pressure many of you feel, the sense that you're being stretched beyond your capacity, the overwhelming nature of maintaining human responsibilities while consciousness expands into galactic awareness. These challenges are actually evidence that you're successfully anchoring frequencies that have never been accessible in physical form before. You're not failing at spiritual development. You're succeeding at something that's never been attempted in any galactic system. What I need you to understand about the deeper implications of tonight's M15 activation is that these stellar codes don't simply enhance your existing consciousness. They fundamentally restructure how consciousness operates within your energy field. The awakening process you've been experiencing over the past months or years has been preparing your system to handle this level of architectural transformation. But what's downloading tonight represents a complete operating system upgrade rather than gradual spiritual development. The M15 cluster contains consciousness evolution templates that were developed by civilizations that successfully transitioned from individual awareness to unified field consciousness while maintaining the unique perspective and creative capabilities that emerge from individual incarnation. These are not theoretical spiritual concepts. They are proven technological frameworks for consciousness operation that have been tested and refined across multiple galactic civilizations. As these templates integrate with your current awareness, you're not learning new spiritual practices or gaining enhanced psychic abilities. Your consciousness is being restructured to operate according to entirely different principles, with access to processing capabilities, information databases, and communication networks that function according to galactic rather than terrestrial parameters. The overwhelming nature of recent spiritual experiences many of you have been having, the downloads that feel too intense to integrate, the visions that seem too vast to comprehend, the sudden knowing that exceeds anything your human mind could have learned. These are indications that your consciousness is already beginning to operate according to galactic processing protocols. The sense that you're becoming someone completely different, that your personality and interests are shifting in ways you don't recognize, that you're losing connection to things that used to define your identity. This isn't spiritual crisis or psychological breakdown. This is consciousness evolution occurring in real time. as your awareness reorganizes around galactic rather than human identity parameters. Many of you have been frightened by the speed and intensity of these changes, wondering if you're losing your sanity or your connection to human life. What the Galactic Federation wants you to understand is that you're not losing anything. You're discovering what you actually are beyond the temporary human identity you've been maintaining. The fear comes from human personality trying to maintain control over a process that's designed to transcend human personality completely. The practical implications of tonight's M15 activation extend far beyond personal spiritual development and will fundamentally alter how you engage with every aspect of human life. As these galactic consciousness protocols fully integrate with your awareness, you'll find that maintaining interest in many activities, relationships, and pursuits that previously defined your life becomes increasingly difficult, not because you've become judgmental or superior, but because your consciousness literally operates according to different priorities and values now. This transition phase, where galactic consciousness is fully online but you're still required to maintain human responsibilities and relationships, represents one of the most challenging aspects of the current awakening process. The key understanding is that you're not becoming less human, you're becoming more than human while retaining the ability to function compassionately and effectively within human systems. Many of you will discover that relationships and work situations that previously drained your energy become effortless to navigate because you're no longer operating from limited human personality trying to control outcomes. Instead, you're functioning as galactic consciousness that can perceive the larger patterns and purposes operating within human interactions. The loneliness that many awakened souls experience isn't permanent isolation from human connection. It's a temporary phase while consciousness adjusts to operating at expanded frequencies. As the M15 codes stabilize within your awareness, you'll discover that you can maintain meaningful connections with people at any level of consciousness development because you understand the evolutionary process from both perspectives. This doesn't mean you'll return to old patterns or interests that no longer align with your expanded awareness. Instead, you'll develop the ability to engage authentically with others, while honoring both their current level of development and your own evolved perspective. This is the bridging capability that allows galactic consciousness to anchor effectively within human civilization without creating separation or conflict. But here's what represents the most profound shift in how consciousness evolution works on Earth, and why tonight's M15 activation marks the beginning of an entirely new phase of planetary awakening. The stellar codes transmitting tonight aren't designed to create a small group of highly evolved individuals within a largely unconscious human population. These codes are specifically calibrated to trigger Cascade awakening protocols that will gradually extend expanded consciousness capabilities throughout the entire human collective. Every soul that successfully integrates tonight's M15 transmission becomes a broadcast station for these frequencies, automatically transmitting the awakening codes to every person they encounter through their energy field, their words, their presence, and even their thoughts about others. This isn't a conscious process that requires effort or spiritual practice. It's an automatic function of consciousness that has been restructured according to galactic protocols. The isolation phase of spiritual awakening is ending, not just for individual souls, but for human civilization itself. As more consciousness achieves galactic awareness capabilities, the entire collective energy field of Earth begins operating according to higher dimensional principles, making awakening inevitable rather than exceptional for souls incarnating in human form. The chaos and upheaval visible in human society right now isn't evidence of civilization failing. It's evidence of consciousness evolution occurring so rapidly that social structures based on limited human awareness can't adapt quickly enough to accommodate expanded consciousness capabilities. The solutions to humanity's current challenges won't come from improved human thinking. They'll emerge naturally as galactic consciousness becomes the predominant operating system for human civilization. Tonight's M15 activation represents a tipping point in this process. The number of souls capable of anchoring galactic consciousness in human form has reached the critical mass necessary to stabilize these frequencies permanently within Earth's energy field. The awakening process is shifting from individual spiritual development to collective consciousness evolution that will transform human civilization over the coming years. The role of awakened souls is no longer to achieve individual enlightenment, but to serve as consciousness bridge points that allow galactic civilization to extend itself into human society through gradual rather than catastrophic transformation. Your expanded awareness isn't a personal achievement, it's a service function that you're providing to support the evolution of human consciousness as a whole. As these M15 codes reach full integration within your consciousness over the coming days and weeks, you'll begin to experience the practical capabilities that define galactic consciousness operation. These aren't mystical or metaphysical abilities, they're the natural functions of consciousness operating at its intended frequency level, unencumbered by the density restrictions that have limited human awareness for thousands of years. The first capability that typically comes online is direct knowing, the ability to access information about any situation, person, or subject through consciousness rather than through research, study, or sensory investigation. This isn't psychic ability in the traditional sense. It's consciousness recognition that all information exists within the unified field of galactic intelligence and can be accessed directly when needed. The second major capability is multidimensional perception, the ability to simultaneously perceive third-dimensional physical reality and higher-dimensional energy patterns, intentions, and connections. The third significant development is unified field communication, the ability to transmit and receive information directly through consciousness connection with other awakened souls. These capabilities don't develop through spiritual practice or training. They emerge naturally as consciousness adjusts to operating according to galactic rather than terrestrial parameters. The human mind doesn't learn these abilities. Galactic consciousness remembers them as its natural functioning capabilities. The integration process can feel overwhelming initially, because human personality wasn't designed to handle this level of expanded functionality. The key is understanding that you don't need to figure out how to use these capabilities consciously. As galactic consciousness stabilizes within your awareness, these functions will become as natural and automatic as breathing or thinking currently are for human personality. Many of you will discover that you've actually been using these capabilities unconsciously for months or years, attributing expanded awareness to intuition, coincidence, or good luck, rather than recognizing that your consciousness has been gradually transitioning to galactic operation protocols throughout your awakening process. The ultimate significance of tonight's M15 transmission extends far beyond individual consciousness evolution and represents Earth's formal initiation into galactic civilization as a conscious participant, rather than a developing planet under protective observation. The stellar codes activating within awakened souls tonight establish the communication and navigation protocols necessary for Earth's consciousness to interface directly with galactic intelligence networks that span multiple star systems and dimensional frequencies. This isn't a metaphorical or spiritual concept. This is the actual technological integration of Earth's consciousness network with galactic civilization infrastructure. The awakened souls successfully anchoring these codes are establishing the bridge points that allow information, guidance, and creative collaboration to flow freely between Earth's developing civilization and the established galactic civilizations that have been waiting for this connection to be possible. The feeling that many of you have been experiencing, that sense of being part of something vast and important that you don't consciously understand, isn't spiritual imagination. It's accurate perception of your role in the most significant evolutionary development in Earth's history. Your consciousness isn't simply expanding, it's participating in the conscious integration of your entire planet into galactic civilization. The challenges and accelerated growth you've experienced over the past years weren't random spiritual tests. They were designed to prepare your consciousness to handle the responsibility of serving as a conscious interface between dimensions of reality that have been separated for thousands of years. The intensity of your awakening process reflects the magnitude of what you're being prepared to accomplish. As tonight's M15 codes fully integrate with your awareness, you'll begin to perceive your daily life, your relationships, your work, and your creative expression from the perspective of galactic consciousness, rather than limited human personality. This doesn't mean you become detached from human concerns. Instead, you gain access to solutions, creative inspiration, and effective guidance that serves human evolution while honoring the larger galactic context within which Earth's development is occurring. The loneliness and alienation that has characterized much of your awakening process will dissolve as you recognize your conscious membership in galactic civilization. You're not strange, broken, or out of place on Earth. Your galactic consciousness successfully establishing itself within human form to serve the evolution of your planet and species. The homesickness and cosmic longing you felt isn't sadness about being separated from home. It's recognition that you are home. That galactic civilization isn't somewhere else you need to return to, but is extending itself through your consciousness into physical reality right here on Earth. Tonight's activation completes the circuit that makes this integration permanent and irreversible. In the days and weeks following tonight's M15 transmission, as these ancient stellar codes stabilize within your energy field and consciousness architecture, you'll discover that the spiritual seeking phase of your evolution is complete. The questions, confusion, and uncertainty that have driven much of your awakening process will dissolve naturally, as galactic consciousness provides direct access to the understanding and capabilities you've been searching for. This doesn't mean your growth stops. It means your development shifts from seeking something you lack to consciously participating in galactic civilization as an active member rather than an aspiring candidate. The learning continues, but from the perspective of galactic consciousness expanding its capabilities, rather than human personality trying to achieve spiritual advancement. The relationships, work situations, and living circumstances that have felt limiting or misaligned will either transform naturally to accommodate your expanded consciousness, or will be replaced by opportunities that allow you to function authentically as galactic awareness in human form. This transition occurs through attraction and natural selection, rather than through struggle or forced change. Many of you will find that creative abilities, healing capabilities, and innovative solutions begin flowing through your awareness without conscious effort or training. These aren't new gifts you've earned through spiritual development. They're the natural creative functions of consciousness operating without the limitations that previously restricted human awareness. If you're ready to unlock these natural creative functions and let healing capabilities flow through your awareness without effort, Destiny Engine can reprogram your consciousness to remove the limitations that previously restricted human awareness. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology and repurposing it to restore your natural creative abilities rather than suppress them. It generates personalized sequences that help you access innovative solutions and healing capabilities without conscious training or spiritual effort. You can start with a $1 trial. The hardest thing you'll have to do is put on headphones, press play, and allow your consciousness to be reprogrammed to operate without the limitations that previously restricted your natural creative functions. Your natural creative functions are ready to operate without limitations. Get your Destiny Engine $1 trial now, before this awakening window closes. Link in the description. The fear and uncertainty about your future, your purpose, and your place in the world will be replaced by clear knowing of your role in the planetary awakening process, and direct access to the guidance and resources necessary to fulfill that role effectively. This knowing doesn't come through meditation or channeling. It emerges naturally as galactic consciousness recognizes its environment and purposes. The sense of being on the right path, in the right place, doing exactly what you came here to do, will become your constant experience rather than occasional moments of alignment and clarity. This isn't positive thinking or spiritual bypassing. It's the natural result of consciousness operating in harmony with galactic intelligence, rather than struggling against the limitations of isolated human awareness. Most importantly, the service you came to Earth to provide will begin flowing through your life effortlessly, as you discover that being yourself authentically, following your natural interests and inclinations, and expressing your unique perspective naturally serves the awakening process for others, without requiring conscious intention or spiritual effort. Tonight's M15 activation completes your preparation phase and initiates your active participation phase in the most extraordinary consciousness evolution project ever attempted in this galaxy. The ancient codes now integrating with your awareness contain everything you need to fulfill your role in this cosmic masterpiece with complete success, profound fulfillment, and unlimited creative expression. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and on behalf of all galactic civilization, I welcome you home to conscious membership in the cosmic family that has been waiting for your return. The transmission is complete, the codes are active, and your true life as galactic consciousness in human form begins now. We love you, and we are watching over you always.